I'm RJ Nestor, Tana Ambassador, and I want to give you a quick basic overview of working with nodes in Tana. In Tana, everything is a node. What might be called a bullet or a block by another tool is what Tana calls a node. And it's called a node because a node is a point from which things branch. And since everything is a big outline tree in Tana, hence node. There's an extra layer to that, though, because nodes can be referenced in other places. They can branch in more dimensions, so to speak. So it isn't just one tree, but they can branch out in a lot of different directions. So when you're working with nodes, the first type to note is an original node. And when you're looking at an original node, you can see here it's just an unadorned bullet. And it says here, this one says original node. This is what a basic original node looks like. Just text inside a bullet. Lots of things can live inside a node. It could be an image or other things too. For the purpose of the basics, we'll stick with text. And that node has this no adornment, and it can have a child. So this is the original node, and this is a child. What it means to be a child is that it is indented one level underneath. Indentation is handled by tab and shift tab. So you see my cursor blinking here beside node. If I press shift tab, it's going to come back up, and now these two nodes are what we call sibling nodes. They're at the same level. If I hit tab again, it will re-indent, and now it is a child to the original node, if we're calling this here the original node. Worth noting, you may have noted it didn't matter where my cursor is blinking. If I am hitting that, it also doesn't matter if I have some things selected. If I hit tab or shift tab, it's going to shift tab will bring it back up a level, tab will send it down a level, and in this case, shift tab brings it back to the sibling level, and tab takes it to the child level. So then what happens if we then reference one of those nodes? So a node reference is an embedded pointer to the original. So it's important to note here, first of all, you can see it is a reference because it has this little dotted line around the bullet. It's no longer unadorned. It's a little dots or dash, whatever you may call it, a dashed line around that. And what you can see here, if I reopen the original, is it is actually pointing to the original in the sense that I can modify something down here, more here, and it's going to change on the original. This is not just a pointer that's saying, hey, click this and I'll go to that node. This is the actual node. I can make changes here. And so if I'm in that, that's reflected in the fact that you can see this node is still considered original. This one isn't considered a reference because it's under the referenced node, but now I'm back into original spaces here. I can change this, and you see it happens in both places. So if I were to then close this up, as you can see here, you now see that there's content. This works for both the original and the node. When you close a parent node, if there are children, there's a slightly lighter coloration around the node, the original, and in this one that coloration is there as well. It's between the bullet and the dashed line on the outside. So normal node referencing is accomplished by, if I am in this node and I'm on a Mac, Command C, and then I come down here. I'll go in and I'm creating some fun loops here, nodes referencing inside their own nodes here. But all I have to do is copy and paste, and it creates automatically an embedded pointer to the original, with a slight caveat that I'll mention in a moment. So that's your basic node reference. You can also have what's called an inline reference, which is just a link to the original. So you can see here's the original node. And here is an inline reference to it. An inline reference happens when you have additional text or content inside a node with the reference. So you'll notice the node reference up here. The node reference here it is only the text of or content, text in this case, of the original node. Nothing more, nothing less. And if I add content here, it's going to affect the original node. You see it even happened in the inline reference down there. Okay, with this one, there's text existing outside the reference, non-referenced text inside that, and I could put things underneath here and whatever, and that will not be reflected up here because this is a different node. It is not just a pointer to the original. It just that this node happens to include a link to the original in it, and that is the inline reference. I can create an inline reference with an @ key. So here's an inline, and if I type @ and say basic original, this is what a basic original node looks like, you can see it creates that for me. I can also create that by copying. You'll call the copy that I did a moment ago, inline, and then copy. It'll do that copy of the original as well. So I still have that copied, or excuse me, I said copy, I meant paste. I pasted it here. I had previously copied it. If you click on an original node, or excuse me, on an inline reference, you will be taken to the original node. So I just clicked on it. If you command click on it, you will open that original node in the right panel. And if you shift click on it, you will open a small panel beneath it that is access to the original node and can be treated as though this were a node, as a node reference. If I make the changes here, those changes will be reflected back in the original, in the child in this case, of the original node. And I can change this here as well, the original. So that was clicking it takes you to the original node. Command clicking or control clicking on Windows opens it in the right panel, and shift clicking opens this additional little panel inline that you can open and close there. You can close it with that X. There's one more thing that I want you to know about references, and because this can be a little confusing. It's what I'm calling Schrodinger's reference, because this is what happens when a reference can exist in a non-chosen state yet. So when you first, I mentioned I was going to say something later about the @ reference and the copying. So here, if I were to type here, let me just delete it from here for the sake of it. I hit @ I do here is basic original. Okay, here's the basic original node. When I do that, notice it comes into existence with a sort of graying around it, and there's a pulsating underline. Right now, this is like the cat in the box that is neither alive nor dead. This is neither an inline reference, nor is it a node reference yet. It looks like a node reference. It's got the dotted line, but this graying tells you that it is not. What you do next will determine what it becomes. If you add any text or press space, which is effectively adding text, it will turn into an inline reference. So when I hit a space bar here, now it is an inline reference. It's that link that if I were to click it, I'd go to the original node. If I were to command click, it would open in the right, so forth and so on. Okay. If I were instead, let's hit a couple of undos here. We'll take it back to the state that it needs, to the Schrodinger state here. If I were to instead just navigate away with an arrow key or click elsewhere, it's going to now turn into that regular standard node reference. So when you first add a new reference like this, it will arrive in this Schrodinger state, and the Schrodinger, I do my pronunciation there, my Schrodinger's reference here can become either one. Now, this is not something that necessarily you're going to leverage a lot, but it is a trap that you might fall into, where you're like, why did that turn into an inline reference instead of being a regular one? It's because when you create it, because there's not enough information for Tana yet to know whether you're going to add more text, and thus making it inline, or if you're going to use it in a different way. It gives you this visual as a way of noting that it is in between states at the moment. I navigate away, it becomes the regular standard node. If I start adding text, it becomes an inline reference. So that's what you need to know at base to work with nodes in Tana. Now, there's obviously a lot more to Tana. I'll do some videos on fields and super tags, and we'll get a little bit into more depth into how some of these things interact with one another. But just simply understanding the fundamentals of nodes and the first level here of nodes in terms of their references, I think will make you a lot more comfortable in your use of Tana overall. If that was helpful and you'd like to learn more Tana basics and more next level Tana skills, consider joining my upcoming Tana Jumpstart. I do these every month or two, and I'd love to have you join the next one. We focus on fundamentals. We drill them. It isn't just me lecturing. Then we look at the next level skills, how some of those basics fit together and how they augment one another and how you can use those. Again, we'll drill that. We'll talk about common Tana challenges and some ways to overcome them, and then we'll look at your specific needs and how we can tune Tana to those needs. It is 7 hours in one weekend. It is a jump start. You invest that time in the weekend, 4 sessions, and we will then have you hit the ground running when you go back into your Tana workspace that Monday. So if you're interested in that, if that's something to be useful for you, the link is here. There's a little bit more information on the page where that link is. I'd love to have you join that next Tana Jump Start.